This was a pretty solid self-contained episode, but really for me overall, man, the action and just the animation is so fluent and beautiful. Akame ga kill, episode 4, kill the Imperial Arm users. Well, hello, my brothers and sisters and fellow Night Raid members of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on the awesome and action-packed and pretty bloody and gory tale that is Akame ga kill. Now, our last episode, of course, really it wound up wrapping up with us seeing this mysterious figure, this killer that likes to kill and behead people, and seemed to have recognized Akame from her actual wanted poster. And that's kind of how things left off over here. And so they've kind of been self-containing, each one, even though there's an overarching plot, which I think is kind of nice, too, for those viewers that jump on and maybe just skip around or only watch one episode or maybe catch it, you know, on the second or third episode or what have you. So anyway, this one goes and starts out real nice. We wind up actually seeing that killer again at the beginning, right before the actual opening credits roll and everything like that. And he winds up, despite her pleading with him, winds up just cutting the head off of this young woman. This dude's obviously just got this weird sadistic look to him and that smile with his teeth and everything. And but we wind up finding out very quickly back at Night Raid's headquarters, right? We find out from an agenda, and we also get an explanation on Imperial Arms and how they work as well, which I thought was pretty cool. But we find out this guy's name is Zank the Executioner. And he's this murderer. He used to be the executioner for like the largest dungeon in the capital, and just, you know, he was just crazy, beheading people, regardless of their pleas for help and mercy and whatnot, would still behead them. Maybe because it was his job, maybe because he enjoyed it, maybe it started out as his job and then he grew to enjoy it. I don't know. I just know that the dude is a pretty sadistic fuck, and it leads into a nice explanation from Agenda. She explains to Tatsumi, because he's obviously curious, and then of course the viewers, you know, were sort of along for the ride as well, about these Imperial Arms. Apparently the Emperor, about 1,000 years ago, the Emperor wanted to have a way to protect his country moving forward, not just, you know, past his own lifetime, right? Because obviously, you know, people come and go, you know, you grow up, you die. You hope that your lineage will carry on and do the right thing, but ultimately what he wound up doing was having all these different materials and rare materials, probably magical type things, I'm assuming, and between that, the magical aspect of things, the fantasy element, and then of course just the kind of science aspect of things, or the sci-fi end of things, you know, wound up calling upon the greatest, I'm assuming, you know, weapon smiths in the world to create 48 of these Imperial Arms. Now, we had seen prior to that, we saw the Imperial Arms, the pumpkin, the sniper rifle that mine possesses, and then also the armor that Bulat has, which is this impenetrable armor. It's actually really pretty badass. So they wind up going and showing us through this kind of cool montage thing, everybody else, and their Imperial Arms as well. Everybody else that's in the group. We find out that Akame's sword is actually an Imperial. It's this cursed or poisoned sword that basically even the slightest cut or nick or scratch will just poison you and kill you. You know, that's why it's a one-hit kill when she actually makes contact. So I thought that the just all the description that they gave us on that backdrop and background for the Imperial Arms was really nice, because that's something that for me, again, I think I said this in the last review, it reminds me of like something out of like a Final Fantasy game, and I'm like an old school Final Fantasy guy. I'm talking back on like the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo days, you know, the ones that were ported over from Japan and came here as 1, 2, and 3, but I think we're actually like 4, 5, and 6, or 3, 4, and 5 in the actual series, the big scheme of things. Nonetheless, though, you know, getting off the beaten path with that one, getting a little off track, I just think that they're very cool and they have a lot of potential, right? So the other thing that we find out about Imperial Arms that I think is worth noting is that if 2 Imperial Arms users go up against each other, it has to end in one of them dying. Even if it comes to be a draw in that battle, someone's got to die. You know, it's like one shall stand, one shall fall. You know, and that's kind of what it reminded me of. But anyway, Night Raid gets tasked with going into the city and taking out this Zank the Executioner, because the dude's just running around like beheading people, and like tons of just innocent people, guards, whoever, just he feels like, and he needs to be dealt with, and quickly. So anyway, they wind up breaking up into pairs, and as the night befalls them and everything else, they wind up breaking up into pairs, and Akame gets paired up with Tatsumi. And he goes off to take a piss and winds up going and seeing Sayo, his friend, and obviously that his friend had died in the first episode, was killed brutally, and well, obviously was dead already when they found him in the first episode. But anyway, he goes and follows this image, this vision, and we wind up finding out very quickly as he's led away from Akame and to another part of the city that this Zank the Executioner, that this is part of his Imperial arm, and this thing that he has, I think it's called a Spectator, and it's this cool looking like eye thing that he has that basically it has different stages. It can predict moves, it can read minds, the hearts and minds of people, it can show you what your most loved one would be, and that's obviously what was happening, the person that would be closest to you that you love the most, and that's obviously why he was, he saw that Sayo. And I should mention, too, that Tatsumi, this has really been, it's been bothering him, and it's been kind of an overarching thing since the first episode. It's kind of haunted him because him and his two friends were going to, they were going to they were like the Three Musketeers, friends and comrades and brothers in arms, so to speak, even though one of them was female, but brothers and sister in arms, you get what I'm saying. And it's something that's really been coming back, and just we've been seeing in every episode him, kind of bad dreams, just sort of hinting at or dwindling upon the past, looking in the past a little too much. Don't know if that's going to come back to bite him or what. He winds up going toe-to-toe with this Zank, and he's getting his ass handed to him for a little bit. Again, the animation, beautiful, everything done very well. But he winds up going and taking a couple of pretty serious wounds, couple of serious hits. He winds up actually getting in a couple of, he's fast. We know that Tatsumi is fast, and he winds up getting a couple of hits in on this Zank before Akame actually shows up. But he winds up also being, I don't know if you'd say mortally wounded, but he didn't look like he was getting up anytime soon. And Akame winds up coming and jumping in, right? And it was just really cool to see these two square off against each other, especially now that we know about the Imperial Arms thing, and to see these two Imperial Arms users go off against each other. He's able to predict her moves, but at the same time, she's able to just completely at one point kind of shut off everything that's coming in her mind, just like a complete calm. And then I thought it was kind of cool too. Zank goes and asks her at one point, he says, "What do you do about the voices?" And she says, "What voices?" And he goes, "I hear voices, of all the people that I've executed, that I've killed. They're all, calling to me from the darkness, from hell, from the depths of hell, basically saying that they're going to be joining me soon. I'm going to be joining them soon, or they can't wait till I join them." And she says, "I don't have any voices, And he says, "That's why I talk so much, and to drown out the voices." And I guess just kills because, hey, I already started doing this, so why not? I don't know. But she says no, she doesn't have any voices. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because I would think the voices would be almost like your conscience telling you what you've been doing is wrong. And to not hear any of the voices, to me, means that you've completely shut off that part of your emotion, your heart, everything, to be able to just be that cold and not think of or hear the voices of or see the faces of people that you've executed, Anyway, the battle winds up going down just absolutely beautifully done. She winds up eventually getting the upper hand on his ass, and I mean after just this crazy like flurry of hundreds and thousands of strikes, and obviously if he takes one hit, that actually cuts the skin, he'll be dead anyway. She does wind up going and taking him out, and as she goes and takes him out, and he falls to the ground and everything like that, I thought it was actually kind of touching in a way, even though this guy was this brutal killer. He thanked her. He's like, the voices have finally stopped. And she even said, she goes, "Now you've been relieved of your life, and you don't have to worry about this anymore, because now you won't have to hear those voices anymore, because you're dead." So, and he was like, "Oh, thank you for striking me down." So it was almost one of those things where the guy, it was this curse almost, you know what I mean? He started out as this executioner, and I think that the job and what he had to do day in and day out and listening to people beg for their lives and everything else, it eventually just, of course, did make him go mad, as it probably would anybody, It's definitely a job that I think you have to have a certain type of mentality for, and you have to be a little bit checked out up here to do. That's just me personally. I don't know. But anyway, though, things wind up ending off, though, shortly after that. We wind up, seeing a little bit of back and forth stuff after the fact back at Night Raid's headquarters. You know, Tatsumi, even though he's injured, is still, you know, required to go and help make the meals and stuff like that, you know. And you see some of this camaraderie and kind of team building and character building throughout each episode, and that's one of the things that I've enjoyed so far, just 4 episodes into this journey. So, and that's kind of where it leads into my episode question is, what are your thoughts on the character building that you've seen so far through the first 4 episodes, or if you're caught up through the first 7 or 8, how many ever are out? I think it's been done very well, and I'd like to know what your opinion is, brothers and sisters. So let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to hit the thumbs up, the like button if you should think that I deserve it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We look forward to catching all of you in the next one, Nation.
Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next one. Comment and like and subscribe.